Hi, this is John with WesleyGospel.com. A little biblical economics entry here. I am convinced that the most surefire way to build wealth, and again, this is very theoretical for me at this point, but I have tested my theories out and seen some effect upon them, but I'm still augmenting. All economic elements have to be augmented over time in order to evolve, improve them. But I'm convinced, at least theoretically at this point, that the most stable, most traditional, most reliable way to build wealth, even the way they used to build wealth in Bible times, was to was through the marketing and customers, and just keeping it at that. That's it. Having a phenomenal marketing method that attracts customers, and then having a steady stream of customers, and that is where the money comes from. That is where you start to stack up the money into savings accounts from. That's where it's coming from. It's only coming from that. Now, the world of personal finance is extremely distracting. Especially the most distracting element is investing. And I spent most of my thoughts on economics last year on this podcast on investing because there is so much literature and write up and, should I say, jangling, worthless talk about investing, about stock investing especially. And can I just tell you that I believe that most of what exists in the category of investing is no different than gambling at a casino. That is my general impression. And that's looking back on it. And I might have to go back into my manuscript on biblical economics and re-edit some of my biblical investing chapter because although there are examples of investing in the Bible, it is imprudent to invest when you could just be stacking up money from customers. And that is hindsight being 2020. Because it doesn't matter what type of investment you're looking at. If you invest in a house, if you invest in stocks, if you invest in anything, the value, if you invest in gold and silver, if you invest in stocks and bonds, it doesn't matter. They're all the same because they always have these fluctuating monetary values. And so while it's true that they can have an upward incline sometimes, that is not a for sure thing. And even ETFs and mutual funds still. It's so jaggedy and so unpredictable. It's also prone to play with your emotions and give you a sense of anxiety and panic. So while there is such a thing as Inspire Advisors, InspireInsight.com, and Biblically Responsible Investing, you might as well just call it biblically screened companies that will allow you to gamble with a Christian conscience. Christian gambling. And as a Pentecostal who agrees with most of what Assemblies of God's said. The Assemblies of God has a position paper against gambling. And I almost want to say that all forms of investing need to fall under that category. All forms of investing need to fall under that category. So I think that investing is a huge distraction from the prerogative of a person who's trying to be responsible with money, to be good with money. And if you really want to get further in this direction than what I'm talking about, and you're thinking to yourself, boy, this is crazy talk, I highly recommend you read Richard Steele's book, The Religious Tradesman, and William Matthews' book, Getting On in the World. Because what you're going to see in those books is an anti-investing sentiment that existed among the Puritans and existed among Christian men in Little House on the Prairie times. There was an anti-investing sentiment among responsible Christian men. The idea was, have your own business, be a solopreneur, be an entrepreneur, and get as much customers as you can. Have a strong bulldog determination to market your family business, and let all of your money be accumulated through customers. And just keep it that until your dying day. And if you can build a pile for retirement, let it come from the customers and the marketing that you have derived for your business. Don't play around with the New York Stock Exchange. Avoid it like the plague. Don't play around with stocks. Don't play around with NASDAQ. It's no different than going to Las Vegas. And that is something that, out of all the 35 books on economics that I read, on personal finance that I read last year, those two have come out to me with that message. That's what makes them so unique. The Religious Tradesman by Richard Steele, Getting On in the World by William Matthews. Don't allow yourself to be tempted by the glitz and glamour of the stock exchanges. Don't allow yourself to be tempted and seduced by the gambling spirit of investment. There's so much talk around it, and so-called quote-unquote investment strategies, and it can pull you into a rabbit hole. The most popular stock investing website is called The Motley Fool for a reason. Because it is a fool's errand. And let me tell you from personal experience, whether it's stocks or houses or silver or gold, all of these are transmutable forms of money, and they almost always lead to loss. If you pay $1,000 and you try to get rid of it and change it back into money, it will be $400 later. You will always end up with some sort of a subtraction, even though you went into it beforehand thinking that it would become a multiplication. While there's always this pie in the sky chance that you could double your money, usually that never happens. Usually the opposite is the case. Usually you put $1,000 into it and you end up with 400. And unless you have enough experience of doing that over and over and over again, you're not going to be able to draw the conclusion. And you're going to keep on holding out this self-deceived hope that investing is different than gambling. It's not. Betting on horses, going to a casino, it's all the same. New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, it's all in the same category. And I would advise you, like Richard Steele did in The Religious Tradesman, like William Matthews did in Getting On in the World, to stay away from stocks. And I don't believe that the Sprinkle Publications version of Religious Tradesman has the section against securities, but there is a version on Google Books that there was an addendum on there called A Present for an Apprentice. A Present for an Apprentice, which was an attachment, an appendix attachment onto the Religious Tradesman. And that's where he really warns against just stay away from investing, all forms. And that was the Lord Mayor of London who wrote that, who was a Quaker. He warned against all forms of stock exchanges, putting them in the same category as casinos. So, why is that? Because you could build wealth through customers, not stocks. Customers, not gold and silver. Customers, not real estate investing. Right? It's customers that you have to run after, and if you want to build wealth. And you need to, in order to get them, you need to have a winning marketing method. So drill into these two things. Marketing plus customers equals building wealth. Marketing plus customers equals building wealth. Don't get distracted by investing. You'll just lose money. Don't mess with it. It is a trap. It is a rabbit hole. And you might think, well, I haven't tried all of the investing strategies. Don't do it. Don't do it. All of them are the same class. There's a reason why there's so many. Because they all end up doing the same thing. They all end up making you lose money. Why are there so many investment strategies? Think about this for a moment. It is because none of them work. It is because it's been an issue of, oh, I don't want to give up on this, I'll try it this way. I don't want to give up on this, I'll try it this way. I don't want to give up on this, I'll try it this way. It's an endless list of people going down a rabbit hole, not being able to succeed at investing because it's unpredictable. So don't get pulled into investing thinking that you're going to become a millionaire that way. That's not how you become a millionaire. It's a scam. It's one of the major scams of the business world. There's so many scams in the business world. Investing is one of the biggest scams of them all of them, all the forms of investing. So if you want to stay away from scams, if you want to really build wealth for yourself, do it the way most of the guys did it in the Bible. Started their own business and got customers. And I hate to show this as an example because it's such an example of sin, but it does goes to show an example of marketing, although misapplied. Matthew 21:12-13, Jesus entered the temple and drove out all who sold and bought in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. He said to them, "It is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you make it a den of robbers." There's two things, or at least three things we can observe here. Number one, church is not supposed to be a place where business activity is going on. It's supposed to be a place of prayer only. But there's a second observation that can be made here. The temple happened to be a place where tons of people were going in and out, in and out, in and out. Much like Walmart or the mall. And there's a principle here, all right? Men of business understood that if there was a place or a thoroughfare where there was a ton of people, a ton of pedestrians going in and out, in and out, in and out, some of those people could be turned into customers and you can get money from them, okay? Now, the third thing that you need to understand from this passage is that although people were getting customers and were getting money from them, they were overcharging. They were making it a den of robbers. And so you always want to, when you offer services for anything, whether it's selling pigeons or something else, that you always charge a fair, competitive price. You never charge more than is reasonable, right? So a fair price, putting your business in the eyes where there's tons of people going to see it. And then you offer your service for a fair price. You pull in as many customers as you can. There's a principle there. And so as you can see, although the people in this case were unethical businessmen, they all understood a very simple principle: marketing. If you want to get customers, you have to put your business in a place where a ton of people are going to see it. That's marketing. And so I believe today, because cold email marketing has been shot to pieces, the number one way that people, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, need to market for customers is going to be websites, Google ads, Google presence, SEMrush, SEMrush, and things like this. Now, if you don't know how to do all that, you can go on Fiverr.com and people will do that stuff for you. They'll build a website for you. They'll get it on SEMrush. They'll try to push it onto Google and get you some Google traffic on your site. But the big thing is you got to have, and I would have to say, get yourself on Google Maps if possible. But I would try to stay away from Google reviews if possible. So I don't know. You've got to get on there, but you don't want to put yourself into a place where you can get Google reviews, because once a person puts a review on there, it's there forever. So that's the one thing that I've always been wary of. I'm going to be pushing in this direction in the near future, but I'm very wary of the whole Google reviews concept. Entrepreneur Magazine, a couple of issues ago, a person was asked what steps did he take, a businessman, to make his first $1 million amount. He said, me and my friend came up with this idea called ABZ Company. And when you're starting something, you think about Z, which is the end of the journey. It's exciting and awesome inspiration and motivation to get up each morning. But besides that, you should only focus on the letter A and the letter B, because you get your first customer and then you get your second customer. Well, okay. So, that was a weird thing, but he's basically thinking about, you make your first $1 million amount by thinking in terms of a 3-step process. And, it's just customers. That's how you make $1 million. You need to get a business started for yourself, and then just market the heck out of it and start getting an endless train of projects, an endless train of customers and projects for them. And just remember that when you do this, that a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. Proverbs 11:1. Charge a fair price. Don't undersell yourself, but don't overcharge your customers, and you'll be fine. You'll always have plenty of projects. That's how you can make $1 million. Most people are not willing to do that because they just want to go get a job. Nobody's going to make $1 million just doing a job, right? The only way you can make $1 million by doing a job is by staying at the same company for 30 years and using mutual funds and never getting fired. What are the chances of that happening? So in most cases, that doesn't work out for people. So the traditional method is what is best. Get a company, market the heck out of it, and get as many customers as possible, and stay away from investments, and just save practically as much as you can from the customer payments that you get. God bless you out there. This is John with WesleyGospel.com.